Hey, this is Guido, and I am currently in Carmignano in the vineyards of Piaggia. This is the Il Sasso vineyard. These vines were planted in 1972, primarily Sangiovese in clay-rich soils with a good amount of stones. Really interesting thing to consider about Carmignano is that although it's incredibly close to the Chianti region, in fact this used to be considered part of the Chianti region, it has a very distinct microclimate. It's also one of the few regions that hasn't started pushing closer and closer to 100% Sangiovese wines, which honestly in my opinion is not a bad thing, because it really continues a sense of uniqueness in this region. What also really makes this area different is its microclimate. So here we are, we're west facing. We've got Monte Albano over to the east, which blocks a lot of the influences coming in from the sea. And then we have the Apennine Mountains off to the west. And so you have this south-facing hills to the south, heading toward Chianti Classico, and then we're basically looking north. And so here we can have very different vintages in other parts of Tuscany. I think a really good example of this is the 2023 vintage, which as I'm tasting down in Montalcino, people are talking about a good amount of rain, cooler temperatures, which really has created this almost cool-toned feel to the wines. While here in Carmignano, they had that same amount of rain in the spring. Less issues with Peronospora, as most of Tuscany had major issues, but they then suffered through a very warm vintage. Another good example, I just did a vertical with Piaggia, and vintages like 2009, 2005, completely atypical of what you would expect from Tuscany. So it's very important to really follow this area closely and individually from the rest of Tuscany. You really just cannot look at Tuscany as there being one vintage and depend on what that character of the vintage was when buying across the board. As people know that read my work, I absolutely love these wines. The combination of Bordeaux varieties and Sangiovese has been truly mastered here. Bordeaux varieties have a long-standing history, and they really do excel in this area. Even here, I mean, we're talking about lower elevations, on average 200, maybe up to 250 meters. It's a very unique location, but absolutely worth following, especially if you're into having a little bit of a Bordeaux variety mix with your Sangiovese. The wines can really be quite stimulating and captivating. I love them.